Welcome to Bleav In 76ers with your hosts, former 76ers point guard Eric Snow and two Sixers fanatics in Marcus and Teja Dash. Bleav In 76ers is presented by BetOnline.AG.
BetOnline is your number one source for all your betting needs and sports info and odds. Find all the latest sports developments, including this week's odds for the Masters Championship and the start to the MLB season. Go Royals. BetOnline is your continued source for all your sports wagering needs, including live betting and your favorite Vegas casino and poker games. It's super easy to get started, so join today. Learn why everyone is saying BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to wager on popular sports and games. BetOnline, where the game starts. Hey guys, welcome to Bleav In 76ers podcast. I'm Marcus Dash. I'm here with our former 76ers point guard Eric Snow and my brother Teja Dash. Guys, how are you doing?
Doing good. Yourself?
All right.
Can't complain. But I feel like every Friday it's like I can't complain, but then when I want to talk about the Sixers, yeah, there's so much to complain about, and which is why we have the show, which is perfect. We can air all our grievances out here on the other show. So lots to get into today, so we're going to kind of just jump right into it. So before we get into the Toronto Raptors game, there was a report that came out this week that from league personnel that think that Doc Rivers' name has been floating around among circles between the Lakers job as well as the Utah Jazz job. And there's also been other rumors that have been floating since we got Harden that Daryl Morey and James Harden would want to go after the former Rockets coach and Suns coach, Coach D'Antoni. Eric, when you hear stories like this, how does this impact the locker room so close to the playoffs?
I mean, it's interesting. It could go either way. I mean, it could be something that, demoralizes the team. It could be something they just blow off because it's constant rumors all the time, especially now in the social media days. It's like, there's nonstop. So I don't really buy much into it. I mean, I just think that it's interesting that it comes out now. I think it's more about, are those jobs that maybe Doc was, his name came up, are those, we know, well, right now those jobs are filled.
Yeah.
So it's more about the speculation of what they're going to do with those positions. And I think Doc, being that, what he's done in this league, his name is going to come up in other positions, especially a high profile position like the Lakers. Utah is probably more relationship driven than maybe popularity. But I can see why his name would come up. I don't know if there's any truth to it, but I know somebody wants to get it out there. Either it's on Doc's side or maybe on someone else's side, but someone wants to get that name out there. And, so it could be, maybe, a change in Philly is coming and it could be a mutual one, but we don't know. But somebody wanted that to be out there.
Yeah.
Teja, as a fan, I don't know where you stand on this because I know there's a big contingency of Sixers fans that want Doc gone, regardless of how the season ends. I mean, I think if a championship comes, Sixers fans won't care anymore. They'll want Doc to stick around, but there's a lot of fans that want him out. Where do you stand on that whole thing?
It's so crazy. I forgot what player it was talking about the change in sports and time between like years and years ago and now, and how it's like you go online, you see fans are just so involved and they're so trigger happy with getting rid of this guy, getting rid of that guy. And like this player was like, I don't remember seeing that 20 years ago with just people like fans actively saying trade this guy for this guy. Everyone's a GM now and everyone wants to play that card. Maybe they were doing it, we just couldn't hear it because Twitter wasn't around back then.
It was there.
Yeah, I'm like,
I mean, it was there. It was just there. It was just there in different forms.
Yeah.
You take Philly, for instance. Philly has been. I think I had a couple friends of mine. They were talking about if I could have played in the social media time, and I said, "Well, I played in the Philly radio time." I mean, it was very much like that. How many people would come to me and tell me what someone said on the radio, like all the time, like. Okay, like that has no impact on my livelihood. But it was like that. They worked people's emotions, and that's all it says.
It's so frozen time now, though, right? Like it doesn't go, like then you had to be there to hear it, right? Whereas now it's like it's like etched on the wall. It's like everyone sees it.
But now it's just instant.
Yeah,
like it's
immediate,
immediate,
loud,
and then so many people can add on to it, and it's become national. So that's the difference. But most cities had like that impactful newspaper or radio voice, and Philly was one. Philly, New York, those cities kind of had it. It was just different. But to say it was never there, no, I don't think it was never there. I just think it was in different form.
I guess that's the difference now. Like it stayed. I guess you call it in-house. It stayed in city. Like you could hear it all in city, but now it just all the city drama rolls out to everyone else across the country now.
I mean, it kind of depends on who you were, because everybody heard about the Shaq Kobe drama, and that wasn't really necessarily social media thing. So I just think it kind of depends on who you were. I just think, personally, I think the biggest difference is you didn't hear a lot about the personal lives of people.
Yeah.
To me, that's where it's the biggest difference, because we didn't know what Michael Jordan and Magic Johnson, those guys were doing after the game. We didn't have to worry about whether they went to a party or a club the night before after a loss.
Yeah. Except for that famous
Philly,
pizza,
but in Philly you did.
Story.
But in Philly it was like that. We knew when Allen Iverson went to Fridays.
Yep.
We knew when, if we were out after a game, that was a big topic of conversation in Philly. So that's what I'm saying. There was some similarities, but it was a little different. Like people did look and see where we were after a loss. Like that was talked about then.
Yeah.
But not every city was like that. Whereas now it's social media, so it's different. So that's why I tried to explain that to a certain extent. It was somewhat like that for the Philly and New York teams. Especially.
Yeah, it probably depends on the player too. Like I feel like Allen was like targeted, and people love to talk about what he was doing, and
because it brought about conversation, it brought about attention. Yes.
Whereas they wouldn't have done that with Duncan if Duncan was out and about.
But it's still the same now. I mean, people are talking about Harden and Doc Rivers. It's still the same.
Yeah. So to go back to the original question, I guess I reserve my opinion for the playoffs to see what happens. I mean, I gotta see how the relationship goes. It's like me being on the fence about breaking up with somebody. It's like you're about to take this really long trip, like 10 days with them. Let's see how the trip goes. Let's see how.
That's why I feel like it was put out there for a reason.
Yeah. Well, a week after the other rumor about players not liking his philosophies, his rotations. It's weird that these are coming. So
now this comes out about him making a move.
Yeah, so it's either a counter by his people.
Yeah, first players want him gone. Now he's possibly leaving. Mm-hmm. It's coming from somewhere that we don't know.
It's definitely building. I would think it's weird if it depends how we go. If we go in another like Atlanta fashion, I'm sorry, but nowadays someone has to be blamed. And Embiid's not going to be blamed. Not enough to have repercussions. Harden's about to get re-signed. He's not going to be blamed for anything. I mean, he's already kind of put his excuses out there anyway. He said he's not completely rehabbed yet. He spent all offseason rehabbing instead of just doing basketball activities. So he's got an excuse lined up. He's not going to be blamed. He's in the ownership's pocket. Who's the odd man out on that one? Doc.
I mean, so what is saying that? What is a successful year if you don't win a championship? Outside of winning the championship, what's a successful year?
See, it's hard. I'd say
your conference finals.
It'd be easier if it's the same exact team. If there's the same exact team, I'd say go farther. Go farther than you did last year, and at least you're in the right direction. But this, like that big of a trade mid-season, this is why they say it's hard to win it all when you make a big move like that in mid-season. We're not a complete team. So do I expect us to win it all or go to the championship? No, I don't. I mean, I obviously want it to happen.
Conference finals would be better than last season, though.
Yeah,
I think he's safe if we get to that. I think he's safe if we get to Eastern Conference Finals.
Yes. Hold on, though. What if we get to the Eastern Conference Finals and he loses 3-1?
I mean, we still got out there. That's funny that we
No, that matters, though. How you lose matters.
That's pretty brutal, man. That's pretty brutal. If we're up 3-1 against the Nets and they come back and tear our hearts out,
that matters.
That's hard. That's real. That's tough, man.
I think if that happens, it really doesn't matter where you play, except for maybe even the finals. That would be tough.
Yeah. I think because that's Doc's. If that was like Tyronn Lue would happen to, I don't think it'd be a big of a deal, but that's kind of already on Doc's record, like that happening. So people are looking for that to happen. And if you give that to him on top of all these rumors and whoever is spreading the whole like players we don't like rotations and stuff,
might be the same person.
Yeah, you're right. It could be the same person doing all of this, mastermind behind the scenes wanting him gone. Or it's someone in those cities being like, yeah, we want Doc. But yeah, I mean, I think it's just all depends on how we leave it. It's gonna have to see how it plays out, which sucks. But and I like Doc, but
yeah,
someone has to take the blame for that if we lose badly.
Yeah, I think this situation's more awkward than anybody in this situation. Yeah, obviously Doc in our situation, but I think Quinn Snyder in Utah. I mean, he's done pretty well over there. And the fact that there's been no rumblings of him getting fired. Vogel, that reports he's on the way out like imminently when the season's over. But with Quinn Snyder, that's kind of weird that they're floating that one out there. I know Danny Ainge and Doc have their relationship, so that's where that's coming from. But the other thing, though, with this whole Doc situation, when I know everyone wants to say, Harden and Morey want D'Antoni, but there was a report that Harden had gone to Morey to try and get Doc before he was fired. So obviously they like Doc. So I don't know where that's coming from. This might be speculation from it and other team floating that out there. That's what I think, at least.
Yeah, I would think.
Yeah, I'm not going to try to guess. I just know that I just find it interesting that these reports come out now and they come out back to back. One saying the players are against Doc, and then the next one says Doc's name is being brought up at two other places. I just find it interesting that, that they're coming out right now when the team is 2 games left in the season and they're getting ready for the playoffs and they're 4 seed. Like, it's just
terrible timing.
Yeah, it's just for what?
Yeah, and remember, I even said before this one came out, I was like, watch for D'Antoni's name.
I'm just saying, but what other playoff teams we're talking about the coaches are leaving? I guess Utah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, who else? But Utah is a team that probably, even though they're a winning team, they probably aren't doing what most people expected.
Yeah, they're going through some stuff too with the whole Mitchell possibly wanting out, and they said if they lose badly, they could blow up their roster. So that's a whole other. They sound like they're going through their own stuff right now.
It's funny. We're talking about 2 1 seeds of last year's playoffs. It's so fast. Things could change so fast in the NBA, just in sports in general, but NBA.
I feel like Utah is different than us, though. Like, we just are starting to put together our next 4-year run team, right? I can see why they're kind of there. They feel like they've plateaued with that roster as is. I can see that.
I mean, but they also had 2 big injuries consecutive years.
Yeah, that's true.
They had one this year, and then they traded the guy.
That's true. Yeah. I mean, we don't have as many of those this year. Last year, we certainly had the whole Ben Simmons thing. But I guess even this year, we did that midseason trade. So, again, we got to see how we finish the playoffs.
Yeah.
Oof.
Gonna be interesting offseason. Well, interesting postseason then into the offseason. So we'll a lot of things to be.
Yeah, don't jump too quick on that one.
And I'm sure there's gonna be more reports like this. So hopefully not like this, but more reports is coming out, random anonymous reports. So we'll see. All right. So next topic, moving on to what we kind of saw last night, but the inevitability of us possibly playing Toronto looks more and more likely. And the thing that's kind of throwing a wrench in this whole thing is the fact that Matisse Thybulle, not vaccinated, won't be able to play at away games if we play at Toronto. As we saw last night, he did not play and we lost. Fred VanVleet wasn't playing, and neither was OJ Anunoby. And, we missed Thybulle last night. But Thybulle will not be able to play in Toronto if we play the postseason against them. Now, I have to ask, Eric, with it looking incredibly likely that we will be playing Toronto, are you worried about playing Toronto without Thybulle in a 7-game series? That's
a concern. That's a huge concern for me. You're talking about a starter, your best perimeter defender. So you have a situation where they have a couple guys and they have a few guys that that are pretty good off the dribble. that are pretty good scoring the basketball. So I think we need defenders, and we need our best perimeter defender in every game if we want to win the series. But I think it's huge. I think that he's him not playing there and then only playing at home. You break up the rotation, you break up the continuity. I think that's huge. I mean, that's something that we've been talking about Kyrie for all season long. That's something that nobody really mentioned. What if a team plays Toronto and it's a guy that's not able to play? So that's trouble to me. I think that's a huge. As you can see, we went up there and I know it's late in the season, but that game was a game we tried to win.
Yeah.
That was a game we tried to win, and they were without two people. And this is a team that I think we spoke about it a while ago. It's a team that this kind of gives us trouble because of their, it's like a matchup problem. And this team that believe they can beat us.
Yep. They're very long. I mean, I'd rather it's a rough matchup. I'd rather play them than Bucks, Heat, Celtics, or Nets. But I mean, they game plan Embiid well. They out rebound us. They're extremely long. Siakam's a matchup nightmare. It was nice to play them. I will say, I guess there's a positive. It was nice to play them so close to the playoffs so we can see what we need to, I guess, work on going into a series with them. But it doesn't look like we're comfortable with anything against them. I mean, I think towards the end we started sticking Embiid on Siakam, and I think we did that in the playoffs too. When Gasol wasn't on the floor, I had to look into that, but and it worked out pretty well. But then if you do that, then you don't get the rim protection from Embiid because Siakam's going to pull him away from the rim, and you're not going to get him at the rim either rebounding or blocking shots and altering shots and scaring people. So that's a concern as well, right? They shoot lights out. I mean, I can't believe they did exactly what we did in the first half. In the second,
I mean, that was a different team for us. And I think Siakam was a different player then too.
Yeah, he's way more polished and comfortable for sure.
And we had Jimmy and Ben. That was a different team, and that was a different team defensively.
Yeah, it's crazy. Even with that team, we still had to put, I guess, Siakam on or Embiid on Siakam. But I mean,
but we had to because they had Kawhi Leonard. Yeah,
I think Ben and I think Toby were switching on and off him, and he was roasting both of them. So that was at least positive. At least they don't have Kawhi this time. But yeah, man, last night was brutal. They didn't have Van Fleet. They didn't have Anunoby, and we had Danny Green. Like angels in the outfield style, putting this ball on the rim every time, man. Like, and we still lost. It's pretty rough because that was the Matisse fill-in, and when he went like 6 of 6 or something. I mean, that's incredible. But I do agree with Shaq because a lot of the people last night were saying the same thing on the show. Wade and I think Crossover, Jay Cross. They were saying how they're worried about the matchup, and Shaq was just like, "I'm not worried. Harden just needs to play like Harden. If Harden plays like Harden, they got nothing to worry about." And that's a big problem too. I mean, Harden cannot have 13 points in a game. We can't do that. I mean, it can't happen. So I don't know. I think he needs to play.
I think so. We talk about the matchups for this game. You would think with Fred, Maxey will guard him.
Yeah.
So James would be on.
I think Trent probably.
Gary, Lil G.
Yeah.
The Thybulle would guard who?
Guard
at home. At home.
And yeah, exactly. He's guarding nobody in a way. And Anunoby. Although I don't know if that's even the best match. I mean, it's kind of is that a waste of him? I mean, I don't even. They'll probably try to put him on Siakam. I think Siakam will just bully him in the paint, though, man. Siakam has that Tatum forearm that he throws out there. Maybe they'll try that, but I don't think that's going to work. I don't think he's big enough for Siakam. So yeah, you might have to go Thybulle on an Anunoby and then try Embiid on Siakam, and then put Tobias on either Birch or Boucher. We're going to have to figure it out. That game 1 is going to be very experimental against them. We're going to try a lot of different things to see what works and what doesn't.
Well, Joel's going to have to dominate. I mean, he's going to have to put them in predicaments where they're going to have to size up. They're going to have to trap him and do a lot of different things.
Because last time we played them in the playoffs, they had Gasol, and Gasol historically always did a good job on Embiid. But
yeah,
Boucher and Bird,
he's going to have to dominate because he's going to have to individually put them in predicaments to where they have to make adjustments and their defense becomes exposed. If that doesn't happen, could be a long series for us.
Yeah, I think it'll go 6 or 7 either way, to be honest, but which sucks. Hey, at least let's be on the winning side of that.
Yeah.
Erica, from a player's point of view, I know that there was kind of rumors all season long. There was one player who was unvaccinated and he was on the end of the bench. There was sources that came out and said that there was a player who was unvaccinated. They didn't say who it was. And then obviously when this whole thing happened, we found out it was Thybulle. As we get close to the playoffs, is that something that, like, I know we dealt with this, the Kyrie situation all year long. Is he going to get the vaccine or is he not going to get the vaccine? When it comes down to that, now that we know there's only one player on the team who is unvaccinated, is that one of those things where it's like, he kind of feels like maybe personal decision, he didn't want to get it before, maybe as we get close to the playoffs, he sees, especially after watching last night's game, how him being on the court would have impacted that game. Is that something that he may want to get the vaccine now as a player kind of contributing?
I mean, he may want to get it, but I mean, if you may want to get it now, then you probably thought about it before because it's the same objective, the same situation. I mean, you knew that it was possible to go to Toronto. Like, that's not new. Toronto has had this restriction the whole season. So that's been there. So if you didn't mean to address it, no one, especially once you kind of knew, we knew for what, a month or so that it was possible that Toronto could be a team based on how we finished. So it's been there for a while. It just wasn't talked about until, oh, okay, well, here's the situation. But I think that the player himself knew, and it's just something that he chooses not to do. So if he chooses not to do it, he has that right. But the guys also have the same right to feel how they feel.
Mm-hmm.
And they could be disappointed about it, and they have that right. Now, whether it causes friction, I don't know. But I'll be surprised if guys aren't disappointed because this is something that could hurt the opportunity for their team and for them individually. It does matter. So I'm sure you have guys, there's friction in there. Now, how they handle it I think it's going to come down to winning the series. If for some reason you don't win the series, it will be some fingers pointed. Definitely.
Does it also put more pressure on Matisse to perform even better and like spotlessly at home when we do play, when he is available?
I think it would put pressure on him going forward.
Yeah.
If that's the case. And, hopefully we don't, but if for some reason we do fail in those games that he missed, going forward, that's unfortunately is going to be held against him.
I know. Yeah, you're right. It will be. I mean, if we lose and people are like, well, we were 0-3 at Toronto, thanks, Tease. You know what I mean? He is going to feel that for sure, especially in that city.
Especially in Philly, yeah.
Yeah. And by the way, end of the bench, that was a lie. I want to find that original report. End of the bench, try starter. How about that?
Yeah. Well, a lot of people were online speculating that it was Paul Reed. That's why he wasn't getting the minutes because he was unvaccinated.
That would have made sense at least.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's interesting. I mean, as far as with this whole thing, is that going to present, I don't know, not matchup nightmares, but the fact that Toronto's going to have to deal with a different starting lineup versus with us from home in a way, is that going to present any kind of problem for them or no?
It's more a problem for us than them.
Yeah.
I mean, because I think if, you're taking out your best perimeter defender and you putting in, say, Danny, who's a solid defender and a better shooter, older player. But I just think that, you can fill that spot, but I think it cuts down your rotation. Now, is Doc going to play, 8 guys at home and then have to play 8 on the road? Then he's going to have to bring somebody else in that maybe isn't playing or not playing as much. So who's that guy going to be? So that's what I'm saying from the standpoint. It hurts our rotation and it changes our rotation. You're going to play guys more on the road? Like,
yeah.
I don't know. Like, that's what you're going to – I mean, I think ultimately it's going to come down to quite a few guys playing 40 minutes. And you never know how that's going to go. But I Bleav that that's going to be the case.
Could you see us limiting Matisse's minutes at home to get the other guys that he might have to work in away during the home game, so they're not just coming out cold?
We're going to try to win the game. We'll try to win the game, and then I can see a guy that's maybe not even playing at all or not playing as much play 20 minutes in Toronto. I think it'll be a committee. I think he'll try a guy. If a guy gets it going and he got a good rhythm, or we have a good run while he was in there, or he's making shots, he'll stick with him. It may be a different guy in the second half than it was in the first half. I don't think you can just set it a certain way. I just think that you'll have your main guys playing more minutes. I think some of those minutes will be pushed towards, James, Tobias, and, Joel playing more, Maxey, and even Danny. Those guys will play more minutes, more so than bring somebody else in and have them go from 5 minutes to 25 minutes.
I think they'll probably lean on Danny is my guess. He's been pretty rested the second half of the season, and he's good filling for that spot. Which also a lot of people online are pissed off because they're saying, like, Sixers, you knew this. Why do we have 4 centers on the roster and not more wings? Like, do you think that's a blunder too on their behalf to kind of to know this was a possibility and not prepare for it at all?
I mean, they may feel they are prepared for it.
Yeah. Maybe
that's just people's opinion, but on their opinion, they may feel like, hey, we do have the guys for it.
Like, yeah, we have Danny Green. That's why he's here.
You got Danny, you got, Fork, you got, you have guys over there that they probably feel in the playoffs can fill in for 10 to 15 minutes. I mean, that's ultimately what it's going to come down to. I don't think that's what I'm saying. Like, if Thybulle's playing 30 minutes, they're not, whoever's replacing him, except for maybe Danny, isn't going to play 30 minutes.
Yeah.
They're going to split those minutes.
Yeah. Give a little more to Shea, give a little more to Ferg. Yeah.
Did you all see Niang be subbing in away, or is it just going to be Danny Green?
Yeah, I'm not sure that they'll play him at 3. I think you can. I'm just not certain that they will, because I think with the increased minutes of with James and Maxey, those minutes being increased, I think that from the wing standpoint, you pretty much said if Danny's going to play. I think that he ends up playing maybe more 4 or 5 and minutes because of, especially with that team. I see in this particular series that we're talking about, the most possible is Toronto. I think he plays more 4 or 5 because of their team, more so than a 3.
Yeah,
him and Tobias, could guard, 3, 4. It could go either way. But I'm just saying it's really kind of depends on, the matchups. But I just see it as more of a 4 or 5 in this particular series.
Toronto's big, so it actually works in our favor for this series, particularly because Niang could, potentially guard. I don't know if he could stick with Anunoby or Siakam, but I don't know.
Niang's a gamer. He can stick with anybody, man.
Hey, they put him on Giannis for like half a quarter. I mean, if you can guard Giannis, or you could try to guard Giannis, you can guard Siakam, but that doesn't always necessarily work that way.
Yeah, the keyword try.
Yeah,
put a body in front of him.
Yep.
Just last thing on this game before we go to the last topic. Paul Reed got the backup 5 minutes last night over DeAndre Jordan. What did you make of his minutes? He looked pretty good in the few minutes he got last night.
Look solid. I mean, I think it's just, for the most part, it's just got to be energy. I think that the skill and talent that he has is going to be there. Making sure the energy is there and paying attention to whatever the game plan is and just gain that experience. I mean, until he's able to get in and play, the experience and the playoff experience isn't going to come until he's given the chance. I just think you got to come in and make sure that he's paying attention to detail and the effort is there, and he'll continue to get better and be able to put himself in position to do what he does best.
Do you think him getting minutes last night so close to the playoffs is an indication that he might actually get playoff minutes?
I think it's possible. I think that it's possible, especially playing that team because you want to kind of see you playing that team, how he kind of fits against that team and their style of players. I think it was intentional to get him minutes.
Yeah, I think he probably matches up better against that team too because they have so many long guys that can move. I would trust Reed maybe guarding, switching on Anunoby or Siakam at the 3-point line than I would with Jordan. Right? I think he's just got more of that build for that. But yeah, it was really great to see him play well yesterday, especially against a team we're going to be playing in a week, 2 weeks from now.
Yeah, he turned it on in the moment that he had, which is great, making the most of his minutes. All right, well, final topic tonight. It's our game predictions piece, but so I'm not to demean the Pistons or the Pacers, but we had the Pacers and the Pistons this weekend to finish off the season.
And they just beat us.
They just beat us, yeah. But obviously, who do you guys have for the games this weekend? I think I kind of know the answers to both those questions. But just more so than that, what are you looking for as we prepare to end the season? What are you looking for from our guys as we close out the regular season, heading into the playoffs in these last 2 games, Eric?
I just think consistency with your effort, consistency defensively, consistency taking care of the ball, taking and knocking down good shots. I don't think we need to do anything special. Just do what you're coached to do what you're capable of doing, and come out and establish a great brand of basketball from the beginning. The competitiveness, like you're playing for a championship. Just come out and approach every game like that. I think we get these 2 wins over the weekend, but you establish some momentum going into the playoffs, after some days off, that you can go out and put forth that effort to establish that we're going to dominate, and we're going to dominate from the beginning. We're going to put forth that effort for 48 minutes.
Teja, what are you looking for as far as, let's say we win these 2 games and the guys ahead of us lose maybe one of the 2 next games? Could there be a difference in the seedings as far as who we play as the I don't know if
that Toronto game was big for that. I think if we wanted to do that, I think we needed to beat Toronto. We would have been in decent shape to take over Boston, but I think now that we lost Toronto, I think we're pretty much I think it's possible with pretty deadlocked. Yeah. I do want to see just us looking, like Eric said, looking good, just feeling good going into the playoffs, consistent play. I want to see Harden take a lot of shots, shoot your way out of the slump. Attempt a lot of floaters because he's had some bad luck. They're in and out a lot. Take a lot of them. Get it out of your system. None of this 2 for 7 crap. Just get it out. Take a lot of shots. Get a consistent flow. I'm not a fan of the whole dribbling at the top of the key till 7 seconds are left in the shot clock, and then passing it real fast to someone, having then to create with 3 seconds on the shot clock. If we have big leads against these bad teams, keep them. We lost another 15-point lead yesterday. I want to see us grab a lead and extend it and keep it, not go down to 8 and then back to 10 and then down to 6. None of that. If Reed is going to be our guy, I think the next 2 games might be an indication. We'll see if he gets more minutes too, because in the past he gets a 8-minute run, 0 again, a 10-minute run, 0. So it'd be nice to see him get a little more, minutes, just getting ready for that. But yeah, just two games in a row, looking good and winning and putting it together before we get into the playoffs.
Yeah. All right. Well, that does it for us, guys. Thanks for tuning in to Bleav In 76ers, presented by BetOnline. We'll see you guys next week as we preview our playoff matchup, and it's probably going to be Toronto. So a little more of this as we talk about this. And also, if I read earlier that if Matisse does get the vaccine from between yesterday and now, he has 2 weeks, so he can't play for 14 days. So if he's going to get that thing, he get that thing yesterday. So we'll see what happens with that. So I'm sure there'll be more information on that as we get closer to our next episode. But for now,
you have to get the doc to backdate that sucker. Is that an 8 or a 9? That looks like an 8.
He could have already had 1 down.
Yeah, that's true.
You never know.
He should call Antonio Brown's guy. I'm sure AB's got to hook him up with the vaccination card. But all right, guys, we'll see you guys next week.
All right, take it easy.